With the release of the Season 4 Part 2 teaser, or at the very least the first one as of the time of filming this video, a lot of new questions have emerged in terms of what we will be getting in terms of Season 4 Part 2. There has been a lot of mystery surrounding it because the teaser honestly doesn't actually give us all that much, but I kind of like that and it really does add to the mystery. But we have one shot in particular that does come from the very beginning of the teaser, where we see a character that definitely does resemble one of the most requested characters to return within all of Ninjago, and that is the formling known as Akita. She is a very popular character from the Ice chapter in Season 11, and it goes out saying that people are definitely excited by the concept of her return. But the question is that actually Akita? Is Akita truly returning? Is it a cameo? Or is it just simply another formling? There are so many questions that we can ask in regard to this one singular shot. So I want to go through my thoughts today, talk about the potential on whether or not it is Akita, and talk about the implications on her return if it is going to happen. Because I'm going to be perfectly honest, I have some worries, and I kind of want to make them clear today before the show actually does release this new season. So let me not waste any more of your time, and let's talk about the potential of Akita's return. Now, everything is stemming from this shot that you are currently seeing. This, at the very beginning of the teaser, has a very small indication of a formling that does resemble Akita, and it's something that people immediately attached onto, because it certainly does strike a very similar resemblance when it does come to how we saw her within Season 11, and I completely understand that, and I honestly had the exact same conclusion. But the more I've been sitting on it and the more I've been thinking about context within Dragon's Rising and context beyond Dragon's Rising, the more I genuinely am questioning if this is going to be Akita. Now, I want to make it clear, I do think it is, because I do think there is just too much of a coincidence here to really get rid of. But there are some things that make me question whether or not it's actually meant to be her in a full capacity. Let's start off with the things that do make sense and do lead us to believe that it is her. Well, for one, the design is so similar, it is jarringly similar, taking on the same ears, taking on the same similar type of hair, the same similar type of cape, and just the general look of her from what we can actually see. This, by all accounts, is Akita. There is not really much of an argument that it does at the very least look very similar. But there are design differences that are worth noting. For example, you can actually see that she does have more of an orange cape, the ears are more orange, for example, and that is a difference. And the hair is also different as well. It protrudes out horizontally a whole lot more. But all of this can be completely drawn away by the fact that they will just naturally make new design for characters. They do that with all side characters. This is not anything new by any stretch of the imagination. So I do think the idea that it's a different character because of different colors kind of does just fall by the wayside. I really don't understand that argument. And the other most compelling piece of evidence is the fact that LEGO themselves replied to a tweet that outright does allude to the fact that it is Akita. They quite literally do just mention the fact that could it be her? That is one of the big things and kind of passively confirms that it is going to be her. But still, regardless of that, there are still some things that do make me question it. But taking all of that into account, it is difficult to say whether or not it's her. But here's where I'm kind of against the idea it's Akita, and bear with me. In terms of an out-of-universe perspective, she's not in the sets. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, maybe they didn't want to spoil it, maybe they didn't want her in the sets, for example, etc, etc. But the thing is that LEGO have never hesitated from cutting characters within sets that spoil story moments. They did it in Crystallized with the Overlord and Harumi and all of the Crystal Council villains. They did it in Dragon's Rising with Moro and with Pixel. They have never hesitated from the fact that they will show the characters off within the sets themselves. And they know that Akita is a minifigure that would most definitely sell. It is a make or break minifigure. There's a reason why the original Akita minifigure is one of the most expensive to this very day. So the lack of her being included in any sort of set at all, when they definitely would have, in my opinion, does honestly make me believe it's not her and maybe just another formling. But if we now turn to an in-universe perspective as to why it may not be her, well, let's actually look at the context of Dragon's Rising as a whole. The thing with Akita is that her return would have to have accompanied with a lot more screen time. The thing is that they would have to manage how she is when it does come to Lloyd, they would have to manage her reintroduction, they'd have to reintroduce her, they'd have to have her as a reason to be within the story. There's a lot of things that would go into actually having Akita there. Now, to be simply put, of course a lot of fans will recognize Akita and there's nothing wrong with that, but in terms of newer fans, they may not be familiar with her. So like I said, they would treat it as a brand new introduction like they did with many of the other characters in the show before. So the thing is that they would have to spend a lot of time with her. Which, is it worth it? We're starting to come towards the end when it does come to Dragon's Rising. Presumably, we are only getting 5 seasons, or at least that is the rumour. But the thing is that reintroducing this character now, is it something that LEGO would try to do, or more specifically, is it something that the writers would want to do? We know that there are many things that don't make it into Dragon's Rising, so is this something that they are able to give the screen time for? Because if they do, and they don't get enough time for her, it could honestly be a disappointing outcome either way. So is that something that they would even want to risk? And the other thing is that they'd have to put a lot of emphasis on Lloyd here as well, whereas they've been doing that in Season 4 Part 1. So would they continue to have to focus in on Lloyd, or do they want to focus on other aspects of the story now? There are so many questions that come with just adding her in, which again just calls my personal doubt as to whether or not they will be adding her. But per my personal thoughts and feelings and theories to the sides, I will just be perfectly honest, it's her. Like, I have near enough no doubt in my mind. It feels like there would be no other reason to introduce a formling, and I'm fairly certain Doc even once said that Akita's gonna return, so it's gonna be one of those things where she is gonna be back no matter what. But I do think my video here is more of a way just to simply discuss my concerns around her return, because I really do think this could honestly be a net negative, because of the lack of Dragon's Rising screen time and the lack of time that a lot of characters already do get. I'm really worried we're going to be facing another situation like we have with Pixel, or Moro, or even members of the main ninja team for that matter. I'm really concerned that we're just not going to get what we need. I'm really worried that we're just going to be facing a situation where we're going to see another character that just gets completely underutilized. So I'm hoping I'm wrong, but my concerns are really there, and I really want to know what you guys think about it as well. Because I do think that on an overall, whilst my concerns are there and I will make it abundantly clear that my concerns are very real, I am going to walk in to Season 4 Part 2 with some faith in mind. I am going to walk in hoping that the writers have handled it brilliantly, because Season 4 Part 1 was also handled brilliantly. And I'm also just simply really liking the look of this new teaser. I really do think they are going to cook. But I just am looking at the track history, and I find myself just knowing that there is always a possible chance that it's not going to be the best thing in the world. We have had many times in Ninjago where that has been the case, and that's not a diss at the writers or anyone on the Ninjago team for that matter, because at the end of the day, any sort of decision that the writers make is something that someone will ultimately enjoy. If I personally dislike something or personally like something more than most, that is just because it's my own kind of takeaway when it does come to the show, and that's what I love. No matter what, every season is someone's favorite. Every character development is someone's favorite. Every character story is someone's favorite. It's just simply put, this one I'm wondering if it will be a personal favorite of mine. But like I said, I would love to know what you guys are thinking when it does come to this. I would love to know what your takeaway from this potential Akita return really does entail. I honestly think it's going to be fascinating, just if they do it right. So please let me know, I'm very much curious. But thank you very much for watching the video, and I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. I love discussing Ninjago with more people. And if you do want to support the channel any further, which you do not have to, you could always become a channel member and join the legends that you see on screen. Honestly, each of you, your support is just meaning the absolute world to me. I honestly thank you all every single day for the fact that you have taken your time and your money for me, and I really cannot thank you enough. So, thank you very much, and take care. Okay,